Jay here, Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm not in the studio or outside Old Trafford. I'm in my kitchen and it's a bit grim in sunny Salford. The weather's not great, so you might need your Parkers. Loads of stories to get through, so we'll crack on. But before we do, make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. I want to get to 800,000 subscribers by the beginning of next season. We smashed through the 750,000 mark. Next stop, 800,000. Right, let's talk about some transfers. There's quite a few sort of old favourites. Can we call them old favourites doing the rounds? I want to talk quickly about Jean-Claude Todibo. This was the player that we were linked with. Looked like it was going to happen. Then UEFA said, don't think so. He's at Nice, which would, you think, make it easier because Sir Jim Ratcliffe owns East. That's not the right words. Owns Nice. But that's complicated the deal because UEFA are saying, no, if you're both going to be in the Europa League, you can't be selling one player to another club when there's joint ownership or multi-club ownership or whatever. Now it seems, according to Florian Plettenberg, West Ham are trying to sign him. Bit annoying, but I don't know what's going on there in terms of Manchester United being able to. There was talks of some sort of legal challenge by Manchester United, by the lawyers, saying, look, what UEFA are saying isn't fair. But I don't know how far down the line that is at the minute. According to Florian Plettenberg, who we've had on the channel, he knows his stuff, it looks like he could, I use the word could, be heading to West Ham. Says here, a new offer is possible as West Ham has not yet left the race for the former top target of Man United. So it looks like that one could be closing, that door could be closing on Manchester United. Talking of other targets that could be going elsewhere, City in for Jared Branthwaite. I had this the other day on my news, the Evening News have got it as well, says that City could join the race to sign Jared Branthwaite. As I said on my news the other day, they do like to sign centre-backs. It wouldn't surprise me if they went for him. I don't think United are going to buy him because I think Everton have priced us out of that move. They want 70 million. It's too much for a player who's had, had one good season, one very good season in the Premier League, but is that worth 70 million quid? I'm not so sure. Let's talk about Matthijs De Ligt then. There's a story here in the Evening News, and it's on the back of a Fabrizio Romano tweet where he basically said a move has been green lit. He said, De Ligt has given the green light to a move to United. It is said by Fabrizio Romano that after direct talks, he is now only negotiating with United. Personal terms are not said to be an issue, and his agent is looking at this as a priority move. Talks are now ongoing between the clubs over the deal and the structure, because one of the sort of questions that a lot of people had, or one of the worries that a lot of people had when I spoke to him about signing De Ligt, is his wages. I think he's on quite a lot of money at Bayern Munich, as you'd expect. I think it's somewhat close to the region of 300 grand a week or whatever. And everyone's like, well, United can't be doing that. We can't be going back down this route of just giving players massive wages, especially players who, De Ligt's injury record isn't terrible, but it's not brilliant. Is it worth giving a player 300k a week when you're not sure, not confident or not 100% sure he's going to be playing every week? I get that argument, but I think one of the sort of counterpoints to that is that he could take a pay cut, and because of tax and the way tax works in England compared to Germany, he could still be on the same money, basically, in his pocket. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But it does feel like there is something in the pipeline here. Feels there's a little bit of fire to that smoke, doesn't it, with De Ligt? Obviously, there's the Dutch connection. We know that Erik ten Hag likes a Dutch player. He's one of the most talented centre-backs around. I think he's always had this stellar reputation. Obviously, at Ajax, he did very well there. Went to Juve. Wasn't amazing, but won a Serie A, then went to Bayern Munich, where it's been a bit up and down, and it's a weird club, Bayern Munich. We spoke about this on the podcast, so I don't want to go over old ground too much, but we were talking about there's not like politics involved in Bayern Munich. Sometimes you have this thing where, 1 minute the defense looks settled, the next minute it changes. He had injury issues, then it was like he was fit, but he wasn't getting played, but then there was talk that he was just being rested to make sure he was 100% fit. It was all very, very confusing. And when we spoke to, I think it was Florian Plettenberg actually, about Marcel Sabitzer, who we got from Bayern Munich, he said, don't look too much into the fact he's not playing every week for Bayern Munich. It's very political there. Also, in terms of centre-backs, I can't make out what goes on there, because 1 minute it looks like it's Upamecano and De Ligt, then it looks like it's Eric Dyer and Kim Min-jae. I mean, there's all sorts going on. So I don't want to look too much into it. We know he's a very talented player. If Manchester United can get him for around the £42 million mark, I think is what was being suggested, I think that's a decent bit of business, as long as we're not paying silly money for his wages, because we need to get out of this habit of paying ridiculous money for players, or to players, I should say, when it comes to their wages, because we've done it far too often, and it's left us in the doo-doo when it comes to selling players and moving them on, because players don't want to go because they're going to take a pay cut. Remember when we had like Phil Jones on the books and he didn't want to go anywhere, and you go, well, he should move. Well, why not? Why should he? Sorry, why should he take a big pay cut if he's on massive money at Manchester United and he signed a contract? I know it's not exactly what fans like, but it's the world we live in. So we'll see what happens with that one. Ugarte's agent speaks out. This is, I think this is via the Evening News. Again, this one. And it says, there are many possibilities on the table, he said. It's almost certain that he won't stay. It's sure he'll leave. I believe the situation will be resolved. As for Emmanuel Petit, he's quoted in the Evening News. He says Manuel Ugarte would be a great signing for Manchester United. He was starting for PSG under Luis Enrique until they got beaten by Newcastle. After that, he was on the bench. However, Ugarte is mentally and physically strong, as well as a holding midfielder who is ready to fight. And I think he's got the qualities to adapt himself to the Premier League. He could be a very important player for United because defensively they have been very weak for the last few years. He can play a very important role as a holding midfielder just in front of that defence. I quite like this Ugarte signing or suggestion. I know he's not done yet. I've not seen a lot of the player, but he looks like the kind of ball winner we need. We don't know what's going on with Sofyan Amrabat, and I don't know if he's that guy. I know I love him after the FA Cup final in particular, but if we're not going to go down the Sofyan Amrabat route, then Ugarte is probably your best bet, because he looks like someone who can just get hold of that ball in that midfield, give it to the likes of Kobbie Mainoo, give it to the likes of Bruno Fernandes, and let them do their stuff. And that's what United need, because Casemiro, I hate to say it, but I think he's done in it. It's a shame. I had such high hopes. And I think, to be honest with you, if he does leave in the summer, I think you can file that one under probably flattered to deceive a little bit. I know it sounds harsh, because there was a spell during that first season with us where he was phenomenal. And you look at the performance in the Carabao Cup final in particular, and one or two others, but on the whole, it just didn't quite work out. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let me know what you think. Ben Jacobs says that Zirkzee advanced talks. He says the Euros have delayed things a little bit, but it's actually benefiting Manchester United, because had Zirkzee not been called up to the Netherlands squad, then Milan might have been able to get it over the line. Instead, his participation in the Euros gave Manchester United a window of opportunity, and they're now in advanced talks, and these talks are all on the players' side. So Milan have already intimated that they're prepared to pay the 40 million release clause to Bologna, and Manchester United would do the same. So that's seen as fantastic value, and it's highly unlikely that either club is going to try and negotiate around that. Weird one with Zirkzee, because he's not really getting a look in, is he, with the Dutch squad? They're still in the competition, so we can't get this resolved yet. If we wanted to, because obviously while they're away with while they're in the Euros, there's no chance of negotiating with the player. They had that big win, didn't they, last night? I was trying to remember then. I could watch the game. I couldn't remember who it was they were playing, which, forgive me, Romanian fans, because it was Romania. They won 3-0. Cody Gakpo and Marlin getting a brace as well. So they're doing well. One team that's not doing well is Austria. They got knocked out last night. Now, Austria were sort of the hipsters' favourites, weren't they? Because they've done quite well under Ralf Rangnick. They've had a load of good results. It looks like he's got them playing a decent way, and he had. But then, they topped that group, didn't they? The group of death, where it was like France, Netherlands, and they came top. And yeah, I don't know if that was a group of death, actually. It was a tough group, but they did well. They came top. And then they lost to Turkey. A winnable game, and they should have won, probably, with the amount of chances they had. I don't want to, disparage or discredit Turkey because they played well. But yeah, the game was at one point looked like it was there for the taking. They got off to a bit of a stinker in terms of the start, Austria. But yeah, they're out. And Ralf Rangnick, who has been getting loads of praise and all the plaudits for what he's done with the Austrian national team, and he has done well. I mean, they've had some good results, but ultimately they've gone out in the round of 16. That's what they did in the last Euros. So I don't know. It just feels a bit Ralf Rangnicky, doesn't it? Where you can see what he's trying to do, and there's obviously a coach there who's got some great ideas, but when it actually comes to getting those results, it doesn't always work out, and I think his CV reflects that. Anyway, I digress. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there, to be honest with you, because we know that what's happening with De Ligt. We're waiting to see when that deal goes from green light to here we go. I'm sure Fabrizio Romano will let us know, or David Ornstein, who's been a bit of a go-to guy for transfers and everything this summer. So yeah, we'll keep you posted as and when we hear anything. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. We're back later on today. We've got the transfers live this evening. Me and Joe Smith are going to be here for that. So I'll see you in the next one.